Hey, welcome back to the shed this week. This is Lawn Care with Darrell, and this week we're going to go over the application of the winter fertilizer. I did get to apply it on yesterday morning, and we had rain come through, which was a perfect timing. So my app was the goal was 1/2 to 3/4 pound of N per thousand. If you need to know how that's calculated, I'll put a link down to my video last week where we discussed how that's calculated out. Now, using my manufacturer setting, because I used the Scott spreader, it puts you at 3/4 pound of N. But something important to remember is those are suggested settings, and what that means is I can't tell you what setting to use. The key is your walking speed and your terrain is very important. So if you walk too slow, you're going to apply more product than you would if you walk faster, and vice versa. So you really need to get used to your product, get used to your spreader, especially your equipment. So it's the first time you use a spreader, and a lot of times, for example, there's two ways of doing it, but generally put about half the amount in your spreader and walk your area on a lower setting and see what you did, and then continue spreading up into the amount that you want to spread so that you don't over apply, and you can kind of gauge your speed and those sort of things and your equipment. So it is a kind of play around, get it feeling right and feel how you feel with the equipment. So there's not one way for me to tell you, hey, you have this setting on this spreader and you'll get this amount of product out. Everything will have an effect. You can go with the manufacturer or the bag settings for the different brands, and that'll be a good start. I set my spreader at the 6 1/4 that was recommended on the bag, and that's where I began to apply the Flirt. Now, you know, your walking speed again is going to be a big determining factor how much you do apply. So the next thing you need to think about is the pattern that you apply. I mentioned before, I have a drop spreader. I like it because of the way it works on my small yard. And with a drop spreader on the Scotts, there is some little arrows that help you do the overlap. Now, a cool technique of that is that you need to watch for your tire marks and put a little bit of water down on your grass, and the tire marks will show up better. A broadcast spreader works a little differently, but it still has the same concept. You need to overlap. So your walking speed plays into that. The faster you walk, the farther it'll throw it, because the spinner, the rotating thing on the bottom will cast it out farther. The prill size, so all of this plays in every time you're doing something. So it's practice, practice, practice. Get used to it. Start with a lower setting and get better. Now, when you are applying, what you tend to want to do is you want to do your outline, and you'll see in my video where I do an outline around my flower garden so that as I go up and back and forth, I get to that cutout, because you really need to put like a pattern. Now, I don't do on the outside of the rectangle two strip lines like starter strips like a lot of people do, because I have an advantage. My neighbor's driveway, which is hardscape, and my driveway, which is hardscape, outlines the border of my yard. So I actually can just run straight off my grass, stop releasing the fertilizer there. I don't have to worry about setting up the borders for that. Now, those of you that have where you need to do between yours and your neighbors and different things, you're going to have to plan for that. We'll discuss that further as I do more videos on applications of the fertilizer later on. So it's important that you overlap your settings and get your application right. And again, this comes with practice. It's important that you water in your fertilizer, especially since I use the synthetic fertilizer, what we talked about before. You want to get it watered in. Now, my timing was right. In my previous video, we discussed about doing it so that it was going to be raining, and I wasn't have to pull out my sprinklers, which just so happens that I applied it yesterday morning. We had a little rain come through yesterday. We had a good bit of rain come through last night. So I was able to utilize the rain for the watering in. If not, if you need to supplement it or even do it at all because of the timing based on the frozen ground coming or the temperatures dropping, then you'll need to water it in. Granted, if you have an in-ground sprinkler system and you've already winterized it and shut it down for the year, that you might have to pull out the hoses. Important things to remember are your fertilizer setting, your walk speed, and the pattern in which you apply the fertilizer. In addition, whether or not you need to water it in or not water it in based on the weather. So I want to thank everybody again for joining us this week with Lawn Care with Darrell. Again, as always, please like and subscribe to the video. Hit that bell to get reminders of when new videos get posted. And have another great week.